边吃边聊吧，行吗？
点菜吗？
来点菜来，点吧，爱吃啥直接点吧。
这是都你家招牌是吗？
对对对。
那就这个。
不是，那是干啥？能吃了吗，老金？
有点多。
你是不是心疼钱？
全来。
服务员，你看这桌多少钱？结账。
那个一共700。
你给我看呀？哎，我一口没吃，对吧？我一口没吃，你不能让我结账吗？
什么意思？
我没啥意思，那我没吃啊，我也不认识你，你让我结账啊？我还想问你呢，你家这么多空场，你为啥让我拼桌啊？在这儿，啥意思啊？
拼桌啊？
兄弟，这么着，他说我吃不起嘛不？一模一样的，他点多少，一模一样，不许差。后面那张台给我上一份，能做到不？速度要快。饿了。不是，后边这桌啊。
好。啊，这哥，那个咱们菜都齐了。
他点这么老些呢？
对。
这能？你吃没？一起吃一口得了吧？
不，那个咱们公司不让有规定。
哎。
以前那个那边买单。
你这么的，一起吃一口，你吃吗？一起来。
兄弟们，我昨天呢相亲呢被骗了。
Brothers, I went on a blind date yesterday and got completely scammed. I almost got trapped, almost fell into a huge pit. I've been going on blind dates in Shenzhen for quite a while now, met all kinds of women. But I never thought I'd get tricked this badly by a woman this time. Let me tell you, I've been seriously trying to date here in Shenzhen, and I've met all sorts of women. Some are in their 20s, some are mature women in their 30s or 40s, and I've even interacted with ladies in their 50s who are already retired. Some of them were into me, but honestly I wasn't into them at all. Others were younger and I did like them, but they didn't like me back. They were either dinks, or didn't believe in marriage, or were divorced with kids, which I really couldn't accept. My family kept urging me. The more they pushed, the more pressure I felt. Later, a colleague told me that he met his wife through a dating website, said it was reliable, and suggested I try it out too. I figured, since my family was pressuring me so much, I might as well give it a try. So I went ahead and registered for a membership on that dating site. But as soon as I got in, I found out you couldn't send messages or even view profiles without becoming a paid member. I made up my mind and went straight for the Platinum membership. I thought, since I'm seriously looking for a partner, it's worth investing a bit. After getting the Platinum membership, I was finally able to view profiles and exchange messages. So I started actively chatting with some women. Finally, I connected with one who seemed to have decent qualifications. Her profile said she was 32, unmarried, working in Shenzhen, had a master's degree, and worked in HR at a foreign company. Her profile photo looked really nice, fair skin, clean appearance, and very attractive. I was really into her. We chatted for a few days, and things seemed to be going well. Then she suggested we meet up over the weekend. I was pretty excited. On the day of the meetup, we arranged to meet at a place she had picked. The moment I saw her in person, I was taken aback. She looked very different from her photos. In the pictures, she seemed classy and educated, but in reality, she had heavy makeup on, dressed in flashy and gaudy clothes. To be honest, she didn't look like someone with higher education at all. Instead, she came across more like someone with a lot of street experience. A woman of the night, if I'm being blunt. I started having doubts right away. But then again, I'm 42, divorced, and can't really afford to be too picky anymore. Plus, she did have the kind of body I like, tall and curvy. Even though her makeup was heavy, she still looked youthful and pretty. So I thought, whatever, let's talk a bit more and see how it goes. As we were walking and chatting, we hadn't gone even 10 minutes when she said it was a bit hot, and suggested we go to a nearby tea house to sit and chat. I thought, sure, it's just tea, can't cost that much, maybe around 100 yuan, 200 tops. What could possibly go wrong? But the moment we stepped into that tea house, things started to feel off. As soon as we entered, a waiter handed her a menu. She glanced at it and pointed to a few items without letting me see, didn't even tell me what she ordered, then handed it back to the waiter. She turned to me and asked if I wanted anything. I said, "You go ahead, just order something to drink." I was thinking maybe a pot of tiguanyin or pu'er. It couldn't cost more than 200 to 300 yuan, right? But then the next moment completely shocked me. The waiter brought over a bottle of red wine. It had one of those fancy logos like Remy Martin or something, and looked seriously expensive. My head buzzed immediately, my heart sank. My first reaction was, damn, I think I just ran into a scammer. I hadn't seen that particular wine before, but I'd seen pictures of it online. It looked exactly like those pricey bottles used by scam operations. I was panicking inside, but I tried my best to keep a calm face. The waiter popped the bottle open right away and poured us 2 glasses, even brought over a fruit plate. My brain was screaming alarms, but I knew I had to play it cool. I took a tiny sip of the wine and calmly said, "This fruit plate's kinda small. Let me go order some more snacks." She nodded and said nothing. The waiter had just left, and she was sitting there alone. That was my moment. I casually walked toward the door and then bolted like hell. Brothers, I mean I literally ran like I was escaping danger. Luckily, the waiter didn't try to stop me. Otherwise, I'm telling you, if I hadn't run fast enough I would have been stuck there for sure. No way out without paying at least 2,000 to 3,000 yuan. I sprinted all the way downstairs, ran across 2 intersections before I dared to slow down. Once I finally stopped, I was just flooded with fear. I thought about calling the police, seriously, but then I figured, this kind of thing is hard to explain. That woman would never admit she was a scammer. Worse, I might get dragged into filing reports and spending even more money just to be done with it. Not worth it at all. A while later, that woman messaged me on WeChat asking why I hadn't come back. I cursed her out, called her a scammer, and immediately blocked her. Brothers, this experience really taught me a lesson. So let me give you all a piece of advice, especially for men like me who are getting older, divorced, and feeling pressured to settle down. Keep your eyes wide open. These dating sites are full of traps. It's way too easy to run into scammers. You have to be constantly on guard. Luckily, I work in finance, so I've developed a strong sense of risk awareness. Otherwise, this time I would have been robbed blind. If it had been someone more naive, more honest, I swear, they wouldn't have been able to leave that tea house without dropping at least 2,000 or 3,000 yuan, and that's without even holding the woman's hand. So yeah, that woman was definitely one of those shady types. A gold digger, a bar girl, a bait and scam pro. She was clearly a professional. From now on, I'm never trusting any of those perfect profiles online again.
相亲市场有很多男生有这样的想法。
In the dating market, there are quite a few men who always complain, saying that after a woman has one meal with them, she never contacts them again, thinking she just came for a free meal. This kind of comment is actually pretty common, but I want to seriously remind you, if a woman is truly so poor that she has to rely on blind dates to get a free meal, she would have gotten married long ago. Stop assuming that a woman agrees to meet you just for that one bite of food. In today's world, what kind of woman is still short of your one meal? I hope all men understand this. If you want to go on a date with a woman, and you ask her out, then treating her to a meal is a basic form of courtesy in society, a fundamental part of social etiquette and decency. But since you've already decided to treat her to a meal, then when ordering, don't be overly stingy. This too reflects your quality and manners as a man. If you really want to meet the girl, but you also don't want to spend too much money, that's totally fine. You can absolutely just go for afternoon tea. 50 yuan is enough. The key is to see whether you two have good chemistry. If the conversation goes well, you can naturally move on to dinner together. If not, just find a polite excuse and part ways gracefully. But if you feel that even 50 yuan is too much, and you're still calculating whether to split the bill, unwilling to pay, and you start suspecting the girl is a fishing girl, or that she's only here for a free drink, then I suggest you just don't ask girls out. And don't blame them for not wanting to stay in touch with you. With that kind of attitude, you've already lost from the very beginning. Men like you deserve to stay single for life. You deserve to never find a wife.
都人说我是个铁公鸡，一毛不拔，我就搞不清楚了哈。
These past few days I've been getting scolded like crazy over this whole dating thing. A lot of women are saying I'm a cheapskate, that I don't spend a dime.
But I really don't get it. Why does going on a date automatically mean the guy has to pay? Can't the woman treat once in a while? Isn't a relationship supposed to be about mutual effort? Brothers, I've been dating for 5 years now. Do you know how I've made it through these 5 years? Do you have any idea how much pointless money I've spent over the years? Back when I used to go on blind dates, I always rushed to pay for the meal, afraid of coming off as insincere. And what was the result? The woman would go home and say we're not a match, say she's not interested in me, some even went as far as to insult me, saying things like, "What, you think a few meals is all it takes to win me over? Dream on." Well then, if you didn't like me in the first place, why eat the meal I paid for? Why not just go Dutch with me? Isn't that the definition of taking advantage while pretending to be polite? I've come to realize, no matter what men do, it's always wrong. I spend the money and still get insulted. In the end, I get nothing out of it except a bunch of blame. So what exactly are we men trying to gain here? I'm awake now. Go ahead and scold me if you want. I honestly think the best way to approach dating is going Dutch. That way, no one owes anyone anything. In fact, I think the more reasonable approach is that the woman should pay first. Because in most cases the power lies with the woman. The right to choose is on her side. As a woman, if you're not interested in the man, then treat him to a meal as a way of saying thank you. What's wrong with that? Likewise, if it's the man who isn't into the woman, then let him pay for the meal. At least it shows respect for the other person's time and effort. And if both sides aren't feeling it, then just split the bill. No one loses out. At the end of the day, men's money doesn't fall from the sky. If the outcome is clearly not going anywhere, then why should the guy be the one paying? Aren't you women always saying you're independent, strong, and don't need men? But the moment the check comes, this so-called independent woman suddenly turns into a vulnerable group. How is that independence supposed to work? Before the meal, it's all bold statements and confidence. But the moment it's time to pay, it turns into playing weak. I really can't stand this kind of behavior.
Two people meeting for the first time. Remember, never arrange to have a meal together. I've said this many times, but many people just don't listen. So think about it. First of all, when you arrange a meal, from booking the restaurant to ordering food to having the dishes served and finally finishing the meal together, it usually takes at least 1 to 2 hours in total. When two people meet for the first time, if the conversation flows well, if you find each other attractive and the chat is enjoyable, then it's fine. Even if it's a bit awkward but still tolerable, spending 1 or 2 hours is manageable. But what if you meet the kind of person where you don't like me, and I don't like you, and you don't even want to stay for 1 more minute? Then what do? The dishes aren't even all served yet. Do you leave or not? So, that kind of situation becomes very uncomfortable. Another point is that when having a meal on the first blind date, you usually can't go to a cheap restaurant, so the cost is typically quite high. If the girl doesn't like you at all, yet you still end up spending several hundred or even over 1,000 yuan to treat her to a meal. Do you think that's necessary? So remember, it's best to meet up at a cafe around 8 or 9 in the morning or 3 or 4 in the afternoon. Why do I say this? Because it's affordable, flexible, and easy to exit. If the conversation goes well, then after having coffee, you can go for a walk in the park and maybe have dinner together in the evening. But if the chat is unpleasant, then you can politely wrap it up in 10 minutes and both go your separate ways. Isn't that a better arrangement? So, for a first blind date, remember this well. Never plan to eat a meal together, otherwise you'll be the one feeling awkward. You'll spend a bunch of money, end up with nothing, and feel like you wasted all that time. Is it really worth it? So what do you think? Should you have a meal together the first time you meet someone? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments. I'd really love to hear your opinion. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. See you next time.